Welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk? I always hate to talk over our music. That music is by Krista Branch, who's just a fabulous patriotic singer. And when we first heard her, we all said, we got to get her on the show, get her music. So we're thrilled we have it. Okay, so we are going to tune right in now. I have on the line with me a gentleman, a friend, who is running for Texas State House. His name is Dan Morenoff, and he's running in District 114. And I think we have him. Are you there, Dan?
I am, Debbie. Thank you.
Oh, so glad to have you on, sir. So I must say, Dan is a lawyer and an activist in many ways. And I said before the break, everyone knows that America is the liberty leader of the world, and Texas is the liberty leader of America. And you're running for Texas State House, and there's so much conversation among conservatives about how we love to bring power back to the states. We like to have the states be the laboratory to form check on policy. So what are the things that turn you on, that make you want to run and sit in the Texas State Legislature representing your district?
Sure. Let me start with this. Kind of one of the slogans that I've been using as I've been running in this campaign has been that I want to make Texas more Texas. And this feeds right into what you were saying, because, look, Texas is a place, yes, but it's an idea at least as much as it's a place. I mean, I grew up in Maryland. Maryland means nothing to anyone, even people in Maryland. But Texas, you can talk to someone anywhere in the world, and they know exactly what you mean when you say that you're from Texas. For that matter, I like to say it this way. If you were to go to Europe and to talk to a Belgian and to ask them to describe America, and then you were to go to Connecticut and ask someone from Connecticut to describe a Texan, I think you're going to hear exactly the same list of descriptors. You're going to get them talking about, that's the place where people are too loud and too proud of where they're from, where everyone prays too much, where everyone carries a gun, where fortunes are made and lost at the drop of a very large hat, where you'll probably even get both of them telling you that everybody owns a horse. I can't promise you that I'm going to do anything in the legislature to get a pony for everybody in the state. My daughters might root for that, but it's not going to happen. But there are things that we can do and that I want to do to get us to actually live up to the things we say we believe in as a state. My list of that, I would put right up at the top of that I want us to get the state government out of the business of picking winners and losers in the economy. Right now, if you've got two competitors in the same industry and you want to know what regulations and what taxes are going to apply to them, the first question you have to ask is, when did they move to Texas? And the second question you have to ask is, how good are their lobbyists? And these are totally the wrong questions. There's no excuse for the fact that a startup in Lake Highlands faces an entirely different regulatory environment than its competitors who moved to Plano from California. It's bad for consumers. It's bad for the market. It stops the market from working. This is just bad policy. And if we want to compete with other states, we should compete by making the business environment better for everyone. That'd be high up on my list. Another one is actually capping the growth of government in the state, something we've never done. Texas is proud of having its own model of government, and we don't live up to it. I like to describe what we've been on for a generation as a cycle of binge and purge budgeting, where, when tax receipts are up, they just open up all the taps and go on a bender. 4 years ago, Texas increased discretionary spending in its budget by 26%. One bill. That we can't do that. And when we do that, look, we did that because tax revenues were up. Oil was selling at $100 a barrel. Now it's selling at $30, and predictably, we no longer are flush with money. So now we've got to purge out the binge that we went on 4 years ago. But every time you do that, not only have you in the meantime displaced civil society and all of the little platoons that make civilization work with government programming, but above and beyond that, now you got to go back and, as you're cutting things, deal with all of the people who have been arguing for years, I've got this great program, and now they feel like you're taking their money away. This is just a bad way this is no way to run a railroad.
There you go. We're speaking with Dan Morenoff, who is in the state of Texas. He's running for Texas State Legislature, and we are actually in Texas in the middle of our primaries. We are in the middle of early voting, and that will actually be to primary day, March 1st. So this is your time, because in Texas, if you're listening and don't know this, in Texas, pretty much the primary is the general. Whoever wins the primary in Republican majority districts, which most are, and Jason's is, and this one is going to win the general. So this Dan Morenoff is running, and really the election's kind of over on March 1st. So Dan, I want to ask you, there is an incumbent Republican holding the seat that you're running for. It is, again, District 114 in the Texas State House. And are there particular things that the incumbent has done that you think are less Texan, less conservative, or things that you would point out that you would do differently if you were to win the seat?
Well, yes, there are. And I mean, I'll flag for you that he's a decent guy. The problem's his record. He's not a bad person. He's just a bad state rep. With that said, look, I ran a Federalist Society chapter for 4 years. That's the National Organization of Conservative Lawyers. I care very deeply about things like the constitutional constraints on government. My opponent, he doesn't. He actually wrote and voted for bills that violated 4 of the 6 clauses of the First Amendment last year. One of those was he actually, I'll tell you a story. This is one where he actually wrote a good bill. He wrote a bill that would have moved Texas's protections of the free exercise of religion out of statutory law and up into the state constitution. This sounds like a good story, right? Except that he then got a call from a special interest group saying, you know what, we don't like your bill. So he killed it because they told him to. I think that when he actually said it, and I'm paraphrasing lightly, he more or less said, well, a business PAC says that the free exercise of religion might be bad for business, so no more free exercise of religion. Look, if you think that freedom of religion is bad for business, at a minimum, you don't understand one. You might not understand any, but at least one of these things you misunderstand. Those being the free exercise of religion, business, in America. It's just not possible to understand those things and think that religion is bad for business. He's at the same time wrote a bill that cartoonishly violated the Establishment Clause, requiring people in Austin to decide what churches count and what don't, as well as to define who counts as a member of each church and to define for each church how they're supposed to read the Bible.
Dan, I have to jump in. I've not heard this. Can you explain? I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm pretty wonky. I read a lot. So tell me what you're talking about.
No, that was a bill where, and again, this is one where his motivation was good. It's just his bill that was very bad. Jason wanted Texas to be able to report to federal agencies that we were doing something to increase the number of kids who have been vaccinated. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So in order to do that, what he decided, and by the way, you should know that more than 99% of the kids in Texas public schools are vaccinated. But he decided that in order to increase that from 99 to 100%, he wanted to rewrite the religious exemption in Texas law. Now, existing Texas law is that if you have a religious or conscientious objection to the use of a particular vaccine, you can opt out of your kid taking it. But if you do that and someone comes down with the disease that they're not vaccinated for, then your kid's going to be excluded from school for the duration of the dormancy period for the disease. Basically, so that, there's to address the risk that the non-vaccinated child will come down with it before they show symptoms, infect other people. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay. I got it. All right.
So if that's the existing law, what he wanted to do was to rewrite it so that you could still opt out, but in order to opt out, you need to swear to the state that you're a member of a church that's been recognized by the state, and that church has a recognizable doctrine at odds with the use of vaccinations. So necessarily, if you're swearing to those things, if you're swearing that the state has recognized your church, then someone in the state government now has the job of recognizing churches.
Man, talk about entanglement of church and state. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, this is exactly what the Establishment Clause is written to say governments don't do. You decide your religion. We don't decide that for you. So, and by the way, he doubled down on this in the last couple of weeks and told the Dallas Morning News that not only if he's reelected will he refile exactly the same bill, he wants to file a companion bill, a second bill that would create a public registry of anyone who checks the box. So let me rephrase that. Definitionally, This is a public registry treating religious dissenters like sex offenders. Now, I know I'm Jewish and I've got my own baggage here, but the whole idea that you're going to create a public registry of religious dissenters is insane and just smacks of not very American things.
Not very American. I should jump in and mention, because we have about 1 minute left here, Dan. Jason Villalba is also a lawyer. I mean, these are not concepts that did not occur to him because he doesn't understand law. He is a lawyer, too. But, Dan, we have about 1 minute here. I want to give you a chance. I know you're running for, again, Texas State House, District 114.
Yeah.
You probably have a website or a Facebook page. Can you quick tell our listeners how to get to it?
I've got both of those. The website is danmorenoff.com, and it's not a very creative name. And if you go looking for me, the Facebook page is just Dan Morenoff as a public figure. I think it might, in fact, tag me as a politician. I'm a first-time candidate. Call me what you like. But, yes, I would love to have people's support. You're right that we're in the middle of voting, and we've got 6 days left for people to come out and make their choices heard.
We have early voting in Texas. This show is now Sunday, February 21st, so early voting this coming week, and then actual primary voting day is Tuesday, March 1st. No, what's the date? 1st, yeah. And so
that's correct.
Yeah, so it's this is the time to do it, and a lot of people go in the voting booth and they think, well, who's the guy? Yeah, that sounds like my guy. It's important to really research who's running and what they stand for. So, Dan, thank you for calling in. It was great talking with you.
Absolutely. If I can mention one last thing, it's that I've been endorsed by just about every conservative organization in the state, as well as by a majority of the precinct chairmen. Whether you're talking statewide or you're talking locally, the people who actually pay attention to state government all want you to vote for me and to let us go in a different direction that's more Texas.
Dan Morenoff, thanks for calling in, sir. This is Ladies Can We, thank you. This is Ladies Can We Talk with Debbie Georgatos.